Hello everyone, Jack here again for Forbidden Planet. I'm here not this time in the hallowed walls of Forbidden Planet Camden or Croydon or any of the other Forbidden Planets. I'm actually in the epicenter of Forbidden Planet. Yes, that's right, I'm in Forbidden Planet HQ here in the FPTV studio for my new comic book day video where I go through all the bits and pieces that are coming off the shelf this week that I'm taking home, all the things that are exciting me, a couple of number ones definitely to flag. There's a huge amount of releases this week, including the much anticipated Batman Deadpool, the second installment of the latest crossover from those two titans of comic masterdom. So let's get cracking and see what I'm picking up off the shelf this week. Kicking off with Captain America issue 5 of Chip Zdarsky's run, which is the final issue in the opening arc for this fantastic new take on Captain America. It positions him just after he's been thawed out of the ice and returns to the US Army before he joins the Avengers, before he becomes one of Earth's mightiest heroes, doing what he knows best, and that is serving his country, interacting with the post 9/11 Captain America we were introduced to in the very first issue, Dave Colton. And this is a little look behind the curtain for Steve into a more modern US government, a more modern US Army, the tactics they use, the history of destabilization, shall we say, that they've become very well renowned for, especially during the Cold War in the 60s, 70s and 80s, very much a period that Steve missed whilst in the ice and is a huge culture shock. And his adaptability and his morals are very unwavering, which creates a lot of tension between himself and Dave and the US Army. Yeah, Zdarsky's done a fantastic job with this opening arc, and I can't wait to see where he goes with it next, but fantastic. The theme for a lot of my single issues this week seems to be sacrifice, which is terrifying, super depressing as well, but in the way comics and literature are able to lift ourselves, in a sense, the vicarious feelings of loss that are translated so well through the medium are very prevalent this week, and none more so than in the final issue of a series I've absolutely adored. News from the Fallout's over. Yeah, Chris Condon and Jeffrey Allen Love's blindingly brilliant miniseries News from the Fallout finishes from Image Comics this week on issue 6. The entire series has been enveloped in mystery and has focused so intently on everyday people affected by such vast evil, the monsters, the creatures, the violence in this book as a stand-in for nuclear arms. There is obviously a bomb here, there is obviously a fallout, but the effect of that fallout's radiation or lack thereof, I suppose, in this series, it is the catalyst for the struggles and for the change in normalcy that possibly as a general society now we've kind of become very okay with. But also the camaraderie that we find in that, in struggle, is what makes it such an engaging read. It's such a carefully crafted book. I've adored this series. I'll be probably picking it up again when it comes out in trade paperback. If you missed out on the series, I can't recommend it enough. News from the Fallout issue 6. It's definitely coming home with me. As always, Joe Kelly's Amazing Spider-Man is of course on this list with another beautiful cover from Lee Bermejo. This time, once again, switching back from the intergalactic voyages Spider-Man Peter Parker is currently embarking on and returning back to New York City, where Norman Osborn and Ben Reilly are trying to keep Peter and Spider-Man's presence, life, alive. I've mentioned many times that Joe Kelly's run feels very familiar to the Dan Slott run, and this issue possibly more none so than ever. Spidey's ensemble and cast coming to terms with the fact that the Spider-Man they know might not necessarily be the one they're interacting with now. It's creating a very interesting dynamic for Spider-Man. It's going to leave a lot of pieces for Peter to pick up upon his return, and as always, I'm absolutely loving the series from Joe Kelly. I haven't missed an issue yet. I don't plan on missing a single issue, and Lee Bermejo's covers keep me coming back every single fortnight because it's twice, comes out every 2 weeks. Thank God, because I love it. And another world I absolutely love getting lost in, that is Ludo Lalabi's Ghost Pepper, and I think the world building is coming to a boiling point in many senses. The struggle for power. Batar, the main antagonist of the series, the man who holds all the cards in a lot of senses, is coming to terms with a society on the brink of collapse as Ash's presence in this world creates turmoil he was not ready for. It's so much fun. every time I read it, I love it a little bit more. I've said before, it reminds me a lot of anime series like Gurren Lagann from Studio Trigger, but also actually from looking at this issue and the design elements of this, I've been getting a lot of The Creator vibes, that movie that came out a few years ago, the sci-fi film, that had an impeccable design. It was a stunning movie to look at, the story of a human tasked with the protection of an AI robotic child. Yeah, stylistically that movie was gorgeous to look at and had these wonderful plateaus of futuristic industry that all felt very tactile and very lived in, and that very much feel that in Lalabi's Ghost Pepper as well. And yeah, I love the ensemble. I'm looking for a few more bits of action, but hey, I love a slow burn. And going off this cover, I think things are heating up pretty quickly. So if you're not reading it, get on Ghost Pepper ASAP. Now I'm going to rattle through these new #1 issues on the shelf this week before we get cracking on the big boy that is Batman Deadpool. Kicking off, we have a new remastered edition of Robert Kirkman's Capes, another spin-off from the Invincible universe. This time it's Code's comeback. This is a remaster, essentially, of Capes. This is the original Capes series from when the Invincible comic was still coming out. This time with some new dialogue and some new art from Mike Engelhart as well, basically giving Capes a little bit of a revamp with the introduction of some of these characters in the Invincible TV series, ramping up for more of the Amazon Prime series, and just to reinvigorate a lot of love for the spin-off comic book series. So if you're a fan of Invincible and you have never read Capes before, pick it up, it's back on shelves. Following on from the X-Men of Apocalypse Alpha, which came out earlier this year, we have X-Men of Apocalypse issue 1. Yes, the Age of Apocalypse cast of X-Men characters have made their way into the main timeline, the Age of Xavier, as it's being called, and they have met up with someone they thought very long lost, and that is the X-Man himself, Nate Gray. Nate is back and interacting with the X-Men of Apocalypse, and they are not very welcome guests in this timeline at all. So looking forward to see how they interact continually with the current X-Men. And last but by no means least, for new #1s, spinning out of the Spawn universe, we return to Liam Sharp's Spawn Dark Ages. The Devil Spawn is the one true king of England, as barbarians and Scots and raiders try and take Britain for itself. There is but one true ruler, as foretold in the annals of ancient history, and he wants his blinking throne. Master of pen to paper is back drawing Spawn, and this time is even more brutal than the last. If you're into your medieval books, if you love bloody big axes and violence and stunning artwork, if you need hulking great characters to throw humongous large weapons at each other, Liam Sharp is your guy. The detail and framework in every single piece of work he puts out is impeccable, and Spawn the Dark Ages issue 1 is no different. So jump onto this miniseries at the very beginning. And now, after much anticipation, it is finally here. The second part of the humongous DC Marvel crossover that kicked off in Deadpool Batman is now here in the form of Batman Deadpool, with the titular character's own miniseries, the mini-story in this anthology of amalgamations, penned by Grant Morrison and drawn by Dan Mora. Yes, that's right, Grant Morrison's back on Batman, and this time there's a little bit of Deadpool sprinkled in there. I'm so looking forward to this second part. I keep saying second part. All of them are one-shots. They're all individual self-contained stories, so you can pick this up without ever having read Deadpool Batman, but you should definitely pick up Deadpool Batman for all the incredible stories that were in there as well. It's not just Morrison and Mora on this book. There are a plethora of creatives that are telling these individual stories, that are celebrating these characters, these two universes, these two massive comic book figureheads, these foundations of the medium, you know, not just the modern medium, but forever, you know, since DC's 80 years old now. That's crazy. But yeah, getting to see them collaborate on more stories is just a great way to celebrate comics, as a thank you to the fans for engaging with these books for such a long period, for loving these characters, for getting to a point where we can have these sorts of crossovers where any sort of legal implications or personal ego tensions can be pushed aside to allow for a joyous book like Batman Deadpool, but it's not just, as I said, Batman and Deadpool in this book. There's plenty of crossovers. Two mystical masters amalgamate in this series as well, with Doctor Strange and John Constantine, with a humongous creative team on such a short story, so you know it's going to pack a punch. We have Hayden Sherman on the art, which is super exciting, and James Tynion, Joshua Williamson and Scott Snyder all working on the script together, which is like I said, a huge creative team for such a short story, and I know the care that went into creating that story will ooze out of the pages. I can't wait to see Mike Spicer doing the colouring as well, often and main collaborator with Daniel Warren Johnson, whose colour work is just as vibrant as all the artists he gets to work with. So, or should I say that want to work with him, because he's bloody good. It may only be a few pages long. This is one of the stories in here I'm most looking forward to, so can't wait for that. One of my favourite modern creators, Tom Taylor, returns to Nightwing with artist partner Bruno Redondo, the two gentlemen who absolutely revitalised Nightwing for a modern reading audience. And Tom Taylor as well returning to his other Prosser book, which was over at Marvel, which is Laura Kinney Wolverine. So these two sidekick characters that he pushed to the forefront of being their own individual characters, giving them their own agency and their own storylines, whilst respecting all the stories that have come before. He's so good finding new avenues to explore these already very well catered characters. You know, again, much with DC, Robin's, you know, Dick Grayson's 80 years old as well as a character, so there's plenty of stories that have been told with Dick Grayson at the helm, and Tom Taylor is one of the many creators that can say that he put an indelible stamp on Nightwing, and the same goes for Wolverine. So I'm so excited to see Bruno Redondo returning to art. I can't wait to see these two characters interact. Really looking forward to this little story in here as well. Noriko Tamaki and Amanda Conner team up for a Hulk Harley Quinn crossover. This is going to be so much fun. I know this one is going to be the most insane of all the little crossovers we have in here, which is a lot considering Grant Morrison's opening up, and I know it's got a lot of cosmicity in there, but I can only imagine the slapstick joy that Mariko Tamaki and Amanda Conner are going to bring to these two larger than life characters, and yeah, this is going to be really fun. And then finally, G. Willow Wilson and Dennis Cohen cap off the end of Batman Deadpool with a Static Miss Marvel crossover. Now, unfortunately, they actually haven't done a cover for Static and Miss Marvel together. However, this is a great opportunity to show off one of my favourite artists, someone whose praises I sing very heavily, and I had the joy of meeting at MCM Comic Con in May early this year. Sean Gordon Murphy has done this impeccable Lobo Deadpool cover as well. It's stupid as hell. He was teasing on his Instagram for ages, and it was so bizarre trying to figure out what was actually going on until obviously it was announced that he was doing a cover for Batman Deadpool. But yeah, I love Murphy's art. This is definitely one of the variant covers coming home with me. There's a lot of variants coming home with me, which is a lot for one-shots, but I just can't help myself. I think these are just wonderful little milestones along the long history of comics, just as a little signpost to say, look, thank you so much for reading. Thank you for enjoying these characters. Thank you so much for supporting these creators and these creative teams. And it's just a way for these companies, obviously, to make lots of money off of us, because I'm buying 3 covers on my own, but also as a way of giving back and a way for all these creators to have a little fun with characters that we get so deep into canon and into getting into and into stories. These are just superb ways to get new readers engaged, to reinvigorate the love from older readers, and to maintain a great connection with current and ongoing readers. So yeah, Batman Deadpool, one of, if not definitely the biggest release this week. Do not miss out. And then wrapping up this week's comics, we have 2 graphic novels I'm super excited to be sharing with you. One is actually a paperback edition of a much older graphic novel from Gullum March, and that is Carmen. Bizarre story of a unique take on death, on an angel in many senses in this book, and the somberness we can find in life, the extremes that can take us to, and things we kind of miss when we get lost in our own despair. It's a hauntingly lovely book. I had it lent to me actually by a regular customer at Forbidden Planet Camden, Lance. Massive shout out to Lance, who's a storied reader. I remember him giving it to me, the hardcover, over a year ago now, and I just got lost in it so easily. It's stunning to look at, first and foremost. Gunnar March, obviously an incredible Spanish writer, creator, who's worked on so many books, Catwoman, Gotham City Sirens, you know, so much. But the patience with which this story was clearly written and the love that went into telling it is apparent throughout. And if you've never had the chance to read Carmen, picking it up in paperback, there is absolutely no excuse. I can't recommend it enough. And then finally, Anzuelo from Emma Rios. Again, another hardcover now available in paperback. The artwork in here is sublime, to say the least. And it's this beauty in the book that is juxtaposed so well with the violence that we see the protagonist of this book escaping, the complete beautiful nothingness of the ocean. When looking through this book, it reminds me so heavily of Children of the Sea, a wonderful manga I had the pleasure of reading last year from Igarashi Daisuke. Also a equally as wonderful animated movie. Anzuelo feels very much the same. I've never had the chance of reading this book before. I'm really looking forward to picking it up in paperback. I will be throwing up some of the interior pages right now so you can get a general understanding of how absolutely gorgeous this book is. I'm not sure how heavy it's going to hit me. I imagine it's going to be a bit like a truck. I always look for books that will get me emotional when I'm reading them, and from what I've heard, Anzuelo's definitely going to be one of those that leaves me a blubbering mess. So yeah, I'll let you know how much it makes me cry, and I hope it makes you cry as well, in a beautiful, cathartic way. Pick it up. So yeah, that's everything this week that I'm picking up off the shelf. As I said, it's a humongous week, especially with Batman Deadpool out, but that is no excuse to not head down to your local Forbidden Planet and check out all the other bits and pieces that I've not even mentioned that are on the shelf. There's always stuff that I don't have time for, or that I'm not picking up myself currently, or that I haven't even been able to flag for myself, that people recommend that I've not had a chance to read, or stuff that have completely slipped me by. There's going to be things that are either you're into, that I might not be, and that is the beauty of the variety of comic books. And the only way to find out what's coming out is to head down to your local Forbidden Planet and talk to staff there and get recommendations. Talk to other comic readers that you see in your comic section. Ask them, what are you picking up? See what's going on. Or head to our website, forbiddenplanet.com, where you can order any of this week's new releases and pre-order all the upcoming releases and have them delivered directly to your door to make sure you don't miss out on a single issue. So thank you as always for listening. Thank you for joining me here in the Forbidden Planet TV studio and in the heart of what makes Forbidden Planet so wonderful. And I will see you next week for a host of new comics. Thanks so much.
If you're enjoying watching Forbidden Planet TV and you're enjoying watching us talk to the world's most interesting and accomplished filmmakers, authors, artists, musicians, creators, subscribe right here. See you soon.